Keep clapping. Wait till I get to Thank you. I know. I thought after all that buildup, I'd be taller as well. So I've been on a journey, almost a quest, to find and develop and inhabit a kind of strength that makes me feel powerful, that helps me feel effective and purposeful in my life, but that doesn't wear me out, that doesn't fray my relationships and doesn't cause collateral damage for those around me. And I'd like to, with your permission, take you to one of the quiet, dim places where I saw some of that kind of strength being developed. Are you ready to go with me? Yes. Okay, thanks for being so willing. So where we're going is a place where young people have been going for tens of thousands of years. Sometimes it was a cave, sometimes it was a grove of oaks. In this place and time, it's a summer camp lodge lit only by candles. And around the perimeter stand dozens of caring adult mentors, and seated among them are 15 or 20 young people, initiates, who've told their community that they're ready to take some steps toward a healthy adulthood. Now, in sort of more traditional rites of passage and initiations, there's often scarification, maybe even knocking out a tooth or fasting, some sort of physical ordeal. And that ritual was ostensibly put in place so that the initiate could prove that they had the courage and the strength to take care of themselves and take care of the tribe. But tonight, we're going to witness a different kind of ritual that develops a different kind of strength. So one at a time, each young person stands up in front of the mentor, and you hear the questions begin. What are you afraid of? What is it inside of you that's keeping you a child? What secret are you keeping that prevents us from knowing who you really are? What are you so angry about? What are you hoping for? And we begin to hear the stories in response. The succession of abusive stepfathers, the struggles in school, the pain of being bullied or becoming the bully, the descent into alcohol and drug abuse. Each young person in turn begins to tell their truth, begins to talk about their pain, their struggles, their hopelessness to this group of strangers in the dark. And over time, as more truth pours out, there's this crescendo that happens, this peak experience of vulnerability. And sometimes they rage, and sometimes they weep. And the mentors don't offer any comfort. They don't even pass a tissue. Nothing to interrupt that flow of truth and emotion. And then the initiate will take a deep breath as the crescendo of vulnerability pulls back like a stormy tide. Take a deep breath, square their shoulders. Take another deep breath, and sometimes through a film of snot and tears, you see this face. Not a face of somebody who's beaten or broken, but the face of somebody shining who's been through an ordeal, who's proven their courage, proven their mettle, been vulnerable, showed their truth, and on the other side of it found not teasing or ostracization, but belonging and love. Witnessing these kinds of rites of passage has been part of my journey toward finding a kind of strength that I want to have in my life. And through my journey, I've found how to incorporate it a little bit, and it's given me so much more ease in my relationship and so much more confidence in my leadership and more access, more full access to my full humanity, and that's given me the capacity to create more positive change in my life and the lives of others. And I wish I could say that I got there easily and that I got there right away, but my path was much more complex. When I was 15, the age of those initiates in the story that I'm telling, I knew I wanted to be strong. That's all I knew. Doesn't everybody want to be strong? Didn't I need to be strong, or at least look strong, to be an adult, to be a guy, to be a dude? And without being aware of the consequences or the alternatives, I chose the only kind of strength that I knew was out there. And that's a strength characterized by what I call the 4 bullets. The traditional mode of strength involves asserting power over other people to get things done, to impose will. It involves a succession of win-lose contests to get to determine who gets to wield that power over. And those win-lose contests get codified into a system of oppression over whole groups of people and even the natural world. And even the winners in this system have to repress huge parts of themselves to be able to stay in the game. Any piece, any thought, any characteristic that doesn't fit in the box has to be repressed. Not a great system, right? But that's the one that I chose. And for years, I worked to be the smartest in the room. I worked to stay safe and in control by tamping down my emotions and tamping down the emotions of others around me. I never saw communication and vulnerability in others as an invitation to closeness. I listened carefully just to formulate my witty or crushing response. So what did that get me? What did acting strong in the 4 bullets get me? Well, my friends all thought I was an antagonistic jerk. My relationship life was a series of short-term flings that ended in unhappiness, disdain, jealousy. I was fired from 4 jobs in a row just because I hated being told what to do. But when I was given power, when I was given authority, I used that power over the people in my employ and my colleagues, and that alienated them, and it left me feeling even more alone. And worse than that, while I was antagonizing my friends and objectifying my girlfriends, I was using that same power on myself. I was repressing really important parts of myself, my passion, my creativity, my sexuality, my spirituality. All of that was ignored, leaving me aimless and without direction. Maybe some of you have fallen into the same set of choices. Yeah. So I wanted something different, but there are a series of pressures that maintain this system of the 4 bullets. Men in particular get rewards and status for acting tough, for being assertive, for ignoring emotions. And we get called out when we behave outside of that box. We get called soft when we act collaboratively. We get called passive when we stop to listen. And that's just the nicest P word that we get called when we step out of the box, isn't it? Yeah. So it took another set of disasters. It took my dream job teaching in middle school to just blow up. The kids hated me. They weren't buying what I was selling. It took the relationship that I thought was going to be my life partnership, turning into a fireball of recriminations, betrayal, and infidelity for me to finally hit bottom and make another choice, a different choice, a choice outside the 4 bullets. You know, only one in three men will seek professional help when they need it. I had tried to treat myself by going outside like I normally did. I tried my version of forest bathing, where I normally got a lot of renewal and health. But what I found out there at this point in my life was just shame and anxiety. So I knew I needed help. I went into therapy. I ignored the statistic, I ignored the stigma, and I did the work. And in therapy, I found that when I lost it, when I cried, when I raged, when I gave myself over, when I lost it, I gained things. I left sessions feeling exhausted, drained, sure, but electric and alive with possibilities and knowledge. And I've come to find that is a relatively common experience, that people feel strong when they do things that aren't labeled strong. And I'm calling this new system of strength, this new tradition of strength, the 4 gifts. And the 4 gifts include power with, win-win, inclusion, and vulnerability. And the way those show up in my life these days is that now when I listen, I'm listening to build understanding and relationship rather than as a way to use it on you later. And I'm learning to validate emotions, my own and other people's, knowing that emotions don't need to be changed or fixed. And I'm learning over and over again to value vulnerability, to tell the whole truth, the messy truth. When I first started dating my now wife, I was feeling really anxious and a little unsettled. And I finally figured out to say to her, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared of this intimacy. I'm scared of what this relationship might ask of me as it deepens. And she just opened her arms wider. So this strength, this kind of strength, this new tradition of strength, it's always been there. It's not new. I didn't really discover it. It's been there in indigenous cultures, in nonviolent movements, and in women's traditions. It's always been there, waiting for us to choose it. Another example, just the other day, just last week, I got a call from that tall kid with his arm around my neck, Cyrus. He was going through his first breakup. I've known him since he was 13. He was going through his first breakup, and he was feeling all of the feels. He was feeling all of the hurt, all of the sense of betrayal, the confusion, and he was feeling really angry. And he was embarrassed about how angry he was. And I just sat and listened to him, validated his emotions, didn't try and change or fix him. And I think he went away feeling a little better. I know that I left with a big grin on my face thinking, wow, what a great example of the new strength. What a great example of the 4 gifts. There's this young person, fully emotional, fully aware of his emotions, and reaching out to another guy for help. How cool was that? Now, I'm not going to make any claim that living in the 4 gifts is easy. It takes work. But the fact that it takes work, the fact that it's not easy, tells me that it can actually be called strength. Right? Inclusion is hard. It involves building bridges. It involves communicating. And people are scared to death of emotional expression and vulnerability, right? People are terrified. We're terrified. I'm terrified of it. So what I'm saying is the fact that it's so frightening means that when you choose vulnerability, you are being strong. Vulnerability is strength. And I'm talking about it today. I'm telling you my story in the hope that you can think about some of the choices you're making and some of the choices that you have to make going forward. Because I believe we all need a source of inexhaustible, communal, self-generating strength to handle the challenges ahead in our lives, the personal challenges of finding your purpose, maybe becoming a parent, growing older. Growing older ain't for sissies. And then we've got these cultural challenges, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to handle a pandemic? How are we going to reclaim our democracy? How are we going to survive and thrive in climate change? We're all going to need to find some strength. And I'll be honest, my path toward this strength isn't anywhere near as straightforward as I made it sound in this 15-minute presentation. It was much more interwoven and recursive and strange. And it's a little weird for me to be standing up here. This feels a little bit like I'm talking to you from the old strength, doesn't it? If we were really going to talk about the 4 gifts and how to build new strength, we'd ideally be sitting in a circle, ideally out in the forest, right? Forest bathing again. But we're here tonight. Thank you for listening. I'm just going to leave you with a few quick questions. What would it be like if we were burly enough to pay attention to all of our emotional complexity? What if you were adventurous enough to investigate all of your hidden parts and not repress any of it? What if you were steady enough to stand with your loved ones when they felt their full emotion and you didn't try and fix or change it? What if you were brave enough to include everybody in your community? And this is for the men, my brothers out there. What if you were strong enough? What if you were strong enough to listen to women when they told you their stories? And you were strong enough to stay right there, believe them, and not get defensive? How strong would that feel? Now, living in these strengths, living in these 4 gifts, like I said, it's not easy. It takes strength, but that strength is there for the asking. And, being strong and working out, it's a lot better with a buddy or two, right? A workout buddy or two. So what do you say we do this together? Thank you.